Alrighty guys, it is time to go ahead and start on this install of the cold air intake from Cold Air Inductions that was sent to me. Again, we will install our pulsar later on in another video, but this first video is going to be the Cold Air Inductions. I said why we should install this first and then the pulsar second. My main reason is because we are going to install the pulsar and attach it to the back side of our cold air intake. So we need to install our cold air intake first and then put our pulsar on. I'm kind of using the 01 Hog here as my workbench, but let's go ahead and get the 2019 Z71 Silverado LTZ hood popped open here, and we'll get a look at the factory airbox here. All right, folks, here we have a 5.3 2019 Silverado LTZ Z71. The only thing I have on this truck right now, performance-wise, is a true dual straight pipe that sounds awesome. If you haven't watched the video on the sound of this truck with just its stock parts, and that's the only thing that it has, the true dual straight pipes, go ahead and check that video out. Awesome sound. Got a cold start in that video as well, so check that out if you guys are kind of like the loud guys who like the loud exhaust and everything like that, because that is Moto AK-47. I like loud stuff, obviously. Check out the entire channel. Everything I have on here is loud. So this is what the factory airbox looks like. We have our intake right there, filter there underneath that plastic piece, and then we have this inlet here that goes straight down, and there's another tube down there that goes straight into the air filter, and then the air filter does its job filtering the air, and then it goes into the intake. All right, so again, one more quick look at factory setup here, and this is all going to change. Yay! And then just quick note here, our pulsar is gonna kind of connect in right there. Pulsar is a plug and play type of situation here, so all you have to do is be careful removing those or lifting up those red tabs, and then removing the entire unit from the clip there, from its factory housing right there. Not taking it completely apart. I don't mean that for you new guys watching the video or coming to the channel. Don't completely take it apart. I just mean unclip it. That's what I mean. But just be careful of the red tabs when you're taking these things off, because you don't want to break those. Alrighty guys, we came outside here to get you guys some more light, because obviously I know my garage is pretty dark, so hopefully this will kind of brighten up what we're about to do here. Oh yeah, you guys will be able to see now, but I just want to get on here real quick and just get a little sound test right here of it idling. So kind of quiet airbox, but got to get this duffel bag out of here. It's taking up too much room in here. So that's just like the idle sound. So let's go ahead and get this started. All right guys, we got the hood open here. We're all set and ready to go. I did take all of my Cold Air Inductions items out of the packaging. Nobody really wants to see that and just waste time opening up packages and packaging and ripping off plastic, so I already did that for the sake of time in the video. But they do give you these awesome directions step by step with pictures. That's always helpful to a lot of people who are visual learners. I installed multiple cold air intakes on all of my vehicles, except for motorcycles, but even though those take different filters and intakes, but that is the different story. But they give you a picture right here to kind of show how everything goes in line. Got our filter, we got our box, our actual hose there, even though it's not really a hose, it's more of the tube. And this one is not plastic, it is a hard metal or aluminum, so that is hard. And then it gives you the the plastic or rubberized elbow there, and then it gives you the PCV tube for that as well, to go onto the Basically all that does is replace the factory one that's right there, that kind of U shape right there. So good directions, good directions. I don't really need these. So I'm gonna set those aside. I might need them, who knows, whatever. I got a little step stool out here. This is actually my farmhouse stool for my kitchen, but don't tell my wife that. But first thing we got to do is connect our 10 mil battery terminal right there, and then next we're gonna disconnect that factory PVC hose with your hands. One thing I will note is make sure your engine is cooled down before you start this. You don't want to be putting your hands down there in a hot engine because you will burn yourself. I got off work about 2 hours ago, so the truck has now been cooled down. All I did was maybe drive about 30 seconds over here to this open parking lot, and the truck is not even warmed up at all. So take that off. Let's go over here and show you some tools you may need before we go any further. This is just the stuff that I have. You guys can use whatever you want to do your job, how you want to do it. For me, these tools right here that I have laid out just make the job a lot easier. I have my bit kit right there in that red case. I have my drill. I may or may not use it. Got my Milwaukee, may or may not use it, but I definitely will be using my extensions. Got long screwdrivers. That is a must for this job and will help you out a lot. And we got some scissors right there, or a knife, because we do have to come over here and cut 2 zip ties. One zip tie is located right here. You will be cutting it right here on this back side. Do not cut here. You don't want to risk cutting one of the wires that's in here. Trust me, just cut it here. Learn from experience from me. Learn from the video. Cut here. And then cut this bottom one down here too. There's another one, a second one down here, because we do have to remove this bracket here from our alternator to get off our duffel bag intake. And duffel bag is just a joke, just because it's so big. I saw in another guy's video, he called it a suitcase, but I'm using duffel bag for mine. Duffel bag. So let's go ahead and get into this, guys. We're going to start off with our battery. All right, first thing, we're back here removing our negative battery terminal. One thing I forgot over there in that tool demonstration or tool set out or layout, I am using a ratchet now. This is something else you may want to use if you don't have an electric ratchet like I do, real fancy. All right, toss that back there and out of the way. And now let's move on to our PVC holes right here. The reason why I got my step stool out here is because sometimes it's hard to get back here and reach. We're doing work on a truck, so sometimes it's hard. Mechanics know that as well. And we have to reach a hose clamp back there, right there in the middle there of the screen, and get that off with a flathead screwdriver. So let's make sure we get that ready here as well. Go to my bit kit here. Probably all messed up and all over the place, yep, but just look for a flathead, that'll do just fine. Let's use our ratcheting screwdriver. Set this over here because we are about to use that. And there's clips, there's gray clips. There's one on this side and one on the back side that you can't really see, so you gotta pinch those together and lift up. Same thing with this top one here. You can see it right there, that gray clip right there. There's another one on the back side. Pinch those together and push that out. There's one. And there's 2. Looks the same as the one we're about to put in from Cold Air Inductions. They make an OEM looking one that looks exactly similar, and all we're going to do is replace it. But not just yet. We got to get our duffel bag out of here, so let's go ahead and put this aside. Now it's time to use our flathead screwdriver and loosen up our hose clamps. So we got a hose clamp here, flathead screwdriver. Loosen this one up. Turn this to the ratcheting setting. That one's loose. Come around here. Got one down here. All right, both of our hose clamps are loose, but remember we have one more thing, which is why we needed our scissors, or you can use a knife. But I already cut this bottom one down here. There's 2 zip ties that you have to cut. Remember, I just cut the one down there. It was a little tricky to get to. Just wanted to be careful and make sure I didn't cut into any wires or covering right here. So I did that off camera. But we can go ahead and do this one on camera right here, this top one right here. And remember, cut on this back side here, but do not cut into the zip tie here. Cut into the zip tie on this back side of this bracket. Hopefully you guys can see this better here. I'm right here on the back side of the bracket right here. Just like that. So now both of those zip ties are cut. There was one here and there was one down here. All right, our zip ties are off again. Last thing we have to get off is this 10 mil bolt down here that connects the bracket onto the air box itself. So this bracket is going to come off with the air box. So this 10 mil bolt has to come off as well. That is the last thing we have to do before we take our duffel bag off. I'm going to switch over here to my Milwaukee with an 1332 on it. It's not a 10 mil, but this will work as well. I got my adapter on there as well, but this is a piece for me that makes my jobs go faster using this Milwaukee. I love this thing. So let's get on in here and bust this 10 mil bolt out. Alright, be careful with that. Don't want to lose that if you ever have to use it again. So I just stopped there. I'm going to back it out the rest of the way with my hand. And you see our bracket just fell. So we're going to take that out as well. Put our bolt right there for a second. Here's our bracket. Sometimes this stays attached to the air box. That's why I said it may come off with it. Sometimes it drops like it did. Thankful to me. Saves me time. Put that right there. Put our bolt right there. And now it's time to take off our duffel bag. So let's move our couple tools out of the way here. Don't want to lose these either in that. Drop these back off. And let's set you guys up here on the positive battery cover. And let's take this duffel bag off. Look at that behemoth duffel bag, huge air box. Check that out. We got space now, lots of room for activities. Next task we have, after we remove our big duffel bag and create this wide open lovely space here, we're going to take off our mass flow air sensor clip off. And then we're going to remove our factory filter cover box off. And there are 3 screws for that. They're Phillips head. There's one there, 2, and 3 on the back side there. And then this whole thing will come off. You do want to leave the bottom part on. I'll show you the guys that in a second though. Let's get this clip off first. All we do is move this red tab back. Be careful, do not break this. Moves back just like that. Use your fingernail. If you're a guy that bites your fingernails or cuts your fingernails, use just a little small knife that you have with you, or something not too sharp, and don't dig in, but just gently slide that red clip back. And then we are going to push down on this black clip right here and pull it off. Comes off just like that. And then we're going to use a T20 for these screws here. But first we're going to take off our air box, because you do want to be careful with these mass airflow sensors. You don't want to break these, because then you have to go to your dealer and get another one. You don't want to do that. Do the job right the first time. Be careful. All right, so let's go ahead and use our long Phillips head screwdriver and get these Phillips head bolts off to remove our filter cover. Here's one here. Here's two. And here's three on the back side here. Okay, our Phillips head screws are out. Again, there's three of them. They're about this long. So you got a little bit of screwing to do, or unscrewing to do. And after that, your filter cover should just come right off like so. But remember, be careful. Your mass airflow sensor is still on here. You want to be careful with that. So let's take that, put that aside. Be careful with that. And now we can take off our factory air filter here. Not too bad dirt wise, but we're replacing you anyway. We'll see you later. You can sit over here. And now let's go in and see what we're working with. So this is what we have right here right now. I got my little vacuum with me, so I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum this out a little bit. But this is the part where you want to leave in. You do want to retain this. You do want to leave this here. This is the factory setup that your cold air induction setup will mount onto. Why? Because this is where your air goes in when you're driving. Comes out in a tube right down there. I don't know if you can see that well. No, you can't. Let's see if I can get you guys some light here. Hold on, bear with me. All right, that tube right there, it's about, I want to say 2.5 inches, goes right down through there and into the box right there. There's the inlet, and up to the air box, and then it'll come out through the filter, excuse me, and then out through the tube and into your intake. So let's go ahead and get this part cleaned out, and then we'll start installing the big boy.
The big one.
Our next step here is to remove those bolts right here on our cold air inductions inlet tube, and remove our mass flow air sensor off of there. So I have my bits all ready to go. So let's go ahead and switch these. So all we're doing is taking our mass flow air sensor off of our factory and putting it on our new cold air inductions. And just a quick tip, if your cold air inductions tube does not come with these screws, make sure you give them an email or a call saying that you did not get these screws. They should come with them, but I saw one of my buddies, he ordered one and he did not get the screws with his. Mine did come with them, and yours is supposed to come with them as well when you order them. Just a side note there. All right, so our screws are out, so this is ready for the mass airflow sensor. Let's change up our bits here, because they are different sizes. You are not going to be using your factory star bolts here. There's one. And there's two. Remember, be careful with this. Don't want to break it or mess it up. Be careful with it. All right, this is going right into our new one. Goes in the same way it came out of your factory one. Let's line these holes up here. So, and line your holes up. So go ahead and get these screwed down. Change our bit here again. Get our first one screwed down a little bit, and then get our second one in, and then we'll come back to our first one and screw that down the rest of the way, just so that it goes in and goes on evenly. Oop, dropped that one, almost lost it. All right, that is on. Go back to our first one and tighten that up a little bit more. All right, that's good there. And now let's go ahead back over to our engine bay and finish putting this thing on. Next, we have to put our inlet onto our throttle body, and then put our PVC tube back on here as well. I'll show you guys how to do that. I did vacuum out this area here, so that's all clean. I did put just one of my shop towels into my throttle body, just to make sure no dust from the vacuum got into my throttle body. So I can go ahead and remove this now. And if you're one of those guys like me, why not just go ahead and start cleaning up your throttle body? So I did that a little bit as well. But it's time to go ahead and put this inlet on to the throttle body and then connect our PVC tube. So we do have clamps on our inlet as well. Again, flatheads. So I've got my flathead ratcheting screwdriver right here with a flathead bit on it. So I'm just going to loosen these up just so that we can slide it onto our throttle body. I'm only loosening up this side first, because this is the side that's going onto the throttle body. Your inlet is going to be pointing to the right, because you have to put your tube on towards the right, because that's where your filter is, to the right. So that's just want to make sure some people know that. Make sure that's on there good. Not gonna tighten it up yet, just so we make sure that our PVC tube is on correctly and goes on snug and tight. So this side lets you know that this side to the inlet duct, which is right here. So we're gonna put this on first. All this does is snap down. Remember those two clips, we had to pinch those to get it off of our factory one. This one should just clip right down as you push it on. There's that clip. And I'm actually going to back this off and put our PVC on first here. So that's clipped on there good. And now I can come back to this inlet, put that back on there, just to make sure it fit on there correctly. Just moving it a little bit away from the alternator, that's all. And that looks pretty good right there. I'm not going to tighten it up just yet. So that's how it should look. PVC tube on, inlet rubber elbow on, just not tightened up yet. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
The big one.
The behemoth. Check this air filter out, guys. This thing is massive. Look at this thing. I'm a man, 26 years old. That's my hand on that That's pretty big. All right, enough of that. Let's go over to the bed of the truck and get this all connected up. We are at the bed of the truck now. We have to get all three of these pieces connected here. So we have the top of our air filter housing, we have our behemoth filter, and we have our tube right here. So all this has to be connected. First we have to remove some of this wrapping here, and then we will go ahead and put our filter inside of the housing and then put our tube onto the air filter. And that right there is what it should look like with those three pieces connected. So let's go over back to the engine bay. Looking a lot better in here. All right, guys, everything is on and looking good. All we have left to do is tighten up these hose clamps. I did go ahead and put my clip back on there, put the red tab, move that back over to the right so that snaps on and locks on. But all we have to do is tighten up these hose clamps and we are good to go for our sound test. All right, guys, one more step before I forget. I almost forgot to tell you guys, you do have to install your three screws, your factory three screws, back onto your the top of your air filter housing, and then reconnect your battery, and then you're all set to go. So I'm going to go ahead and use my long neck screwdriver Phillips head here, put those three bolts on, put my battery back on with that 10 mil, and we will be ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, we are finally done. Got dark on me a little bit, getting dark at about 6:30 now here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's getting close to winter time, but we are all here and set. Got our battery connected back over there. So now, again, another moment you've all been waiting for. Again, sorry about the darkness, almost like we're back in the garage, right? But hey, I got remote start now again. Okay, people, I apologize. It got dark out there, so I came on in the garage, and as soon as I went to before I came in the garage, as soon as I went to take the video of the sound clip of the cold air inductions intake, literally 10 seconds before I was about to press the remote start button, the GoPro, of course, dies. So had to go upstairs, change the battery out, but now we're back down here in the garage. So properly now I can get you guys a sound clip of the cold air inductions intake on the truck after it's been installed, after we just installed it. But I will say, you may not be able to hear much of the sound of the cold air inductions intake. The reason why is because I have true dual straight pipes on this truck, and the sound of the engine bay as well. You may just not be able to hear it, that's all. So I just want to put that out there. If you have a stock vehicle, you'll definitely be able to hear it. Me knowing that cold air intakes definitely do change the sound of an engine bay, especially when you're pressing on the gas, and just that whoosh induction sound, and installing numerous cold air intakes on different vehicles. I know myself personally that it does make a sound difference, but for you first time guys installing cold air intakes for the first time, I just want to put that out there and note that if you have a loud exhaust, you may not be able to hear much of the cold air intake that you just put on, and it may disappoint you a little bit, but trust me, it is all worth it. Throttle responsivity does increase with my little drive that I have from the parking lot back to the garage, but I was smiling the whole 30 seconds back down here in my garage. So without further ado, finally get a cold start here, let the straight pipes idle down just a little bit, and then we'll open up the engine bay and I'll put the camera closer to the filter.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.